The WBBL.
Ball's off the edge. Oh, that's a blinder of a catch. You will not see better. On the stance, big shout for leg before, and she's given. A flatter delivery that's cut away and caught.
On ABC Radio, digital, and the ABC Listen app.
Good evening and welcome to the second semi-final of the 2020 WBBL competition. It's Sydney Thunder playing Brisbane Heat here at North Sydney Oval. The spoils for the winner, an appointment with the Melbourne Stars in Saturday night's decider. For the loser, time to pack your bags and cricket kits and depart the Olympic Park Village. What a beautiful, warm night in Sydney. Conditions absolutely perfect. Alongside former Aussie Test batter Michelle Goscoe, former New South Wales, West Australian and Scorchers keeper Jenny Wallace, Brett Sprigg, I'm Andrew Moore. Welcome to local radio listeners right across New South Wales and Queensland and everywhere else listening on the ABC Listen app and ABC Sport Digital Radio, not to mention our friends in the UK through BBC 5's Live Sports Extra. Lovely to have your company as well. We've had the bat flip. Brett Sprigg is down with the two captains. G'day, Spriggsy.
Andrew, good evening. The news from down here is that the Heat have won the toss and Jess Johnson has elected to bowl first. Is that right, Jess?
Yes, that's correct.
Why is that?
We watched the game a little bit last night and sort of looked to see how the ball came onto the bat under lights and, hopefully we can bowl it in some decent areas and restrict the Thunder.
A chance of a three-peat is well and truly alive. Is it something you talk about as a playing group?
It's been mentioned, but it's not something that we've sort of looked as a massive motivator for us. We just look to try and improve each game and a real process-driven team.
You've had great consistent form, 7 straight wins. Any changes for your team?
We have Nicola Hancock in for Courtney Sipple from our last game. Nick's been exceptional for us with some extra pace on the ball, so hopefully she can rip through the Thunder top order tonight.
Good luck tonight.
Thank you.
And Rachel Haynes has joined us as well. Rachel, what happens in a finals game? What are the extra challenges or pressures you have to be on top of?
I think pressure's the word, isn't it, really? I think it probably just gets upon you a little bit quicker than in other games. So I think tonight the team that maintains their composure for the longest in those big moments will definitely have the advantage.
Do you like this ground?
Yeah, I love playing cricket here. I think it's become pretty much the home of women's cricket in Sydney, that's for sure. So it's generally a high-scoring ground, so we're looking forward to putting a score on the board. What
are the changes for your team?
We go into this game unchanged.
Well done. Cheers.
Thank you.
Rachel Haynes joining us downstairs. So the news from down here, Andrew, is that the Heat have won the toss and they will send the Sydney Thunder in for this second semi-final.
All right, good on you, Brett. Thank you, mate. They've played twice this season and one win apiece. We called their game at the Sydney Showground. It was game 14 of the competition, and Thunder won by 14 runs in the Duckworth-Lewis system. They scored 3 for 79 off 12 overs when the rain came, and Rachel Treneman scored 38 off 34. Tammy Beaumont in a rare better than runnable innings, 30 off 27. They put on 71-run opening partnership, their best of the season. And then because of the rain, Brisbane Heat, you might remember, needed 45 to win off 5 overs, but could only manage 7 for 30. Sam Bates, 2 for none off her 1 over, and Heather Knight, 3 for 4 when she ripped through Maddie Green, Jess Jonathan and Georgia Redmayne. But game 32 they played at Blacktown, Heat won that easily by 8 wickets, reducing Thunder batting first to 9 for 111, of which Rachel Treneman top scored with 27, and Amelia Kerr, the leggy who's been in great form, picked up 4 for 20, and then the Heat smashed 2 for 115, winning with 3.5 overs to spare. Georgia Redmayne 59 not out, Georgia Vole 31 not out, a wicket each to Sam Bates and Sammy Jo Johnson. Michelle Goscoe and Jenny Wallace are with us. Gozzy, first of all, good evening to you. This should be a great matchup, second against third.
Yeah, good evening, Maury. Good evening to all the listeners. I'm pumped for this game. I think yesterday was the appetiser and this is the main event tonight. So I'm very excited to see what transpires. I think it's so important, this top order fires here for the Thunder. Heather Knight, Rachel Haynes have been so important. Sammy Jo Johnson is listed as number 6, but she's got the pads on already, so she may come in, but hasn't really worked so far. And the Heat, they're all whooping downstairs and very excited to get out in the field.
Well, Sammy Jo playing against her old team. She's only had 1 innings of note, really, and that was 30 off 13 against the Adelaide Strikers. 94 runs at an average of just under 10 and a half. Jenny Wallace, good evening to you. How much do the Thunder need to learn from what happened to the Scorchers last night batting first?
Well, I think that's a key thing, and good evening to you, of course. But I think that the Thunder, this has been their challenge, this opening partnership of Treneman and Beaumont. Consistently, they've gone under 100 strike rate, and we saw last night with the Scorchers that you needed to get off to a better start than that and try and put pressure on the opposition immediately. It worked for the Stars in the chase, and I think the Thunder... I think they'd be better off if a Tammy Beaumont, for example, goes out and she emulates an Elise Villani from last night. Goes out 18 off 10 balls, gets them off to a flyer and sets the tone for the dugout.
Well, Tammy Beaumont's strike rate is only just over 84, and Rachel Treneman, who's scored many more runs than Beaumont, but her strike rate is only just under 92. So what did you make, Wall, of the comments there by Jess Jonathan talking to Spriggy that the reason they've sent the Thunder in is because they think the ball came through more truly at night time last night?
Yeah, I think Jess is also on the fact that the teams chasing recently at North Sydney Oval, I think, have won 4 of the last 5 fixtures here under lights, that specifically. So no doubt when you win the toss, that's playing on your mind. They like to chase the heat. That means Grace Harris knows what she's chasing. Laura Cummins can come in and do her damage. And Georgia Redmayne, who's been outstanding for them, can do her thing. And it absolutely puts the Thunder under pressure because it now makes the opening partnership have to set the scene. So I think she's done well, Jess Jonathan, calling the flip correctly. She also threw the bat as high as I've ever seen, so that was a bit of a fun at the toss as well.
A personal best, I believe.
Yeah, PB.
So, all right, well, give us a score. What the Thunder, what's their must-get?
Their must-get's 150.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's about right, Jen. We'll hear from you throughout the evening. Looking forward to that. Gozzy Brisbane Heat, they're going for the three-peat, convincing winners the last 2 years, particularly last year. But they started this tournament with 3 washouts and 4 losses. No one saw what was to happen next, and that's 7 straight wins.
Yeah, you're right, except for the team. They actually did back themselves to come in, and I remember reading an interview that Jess Jonathan had done, and she just said, stick with us, fans, we'll come back, and that's exactly what they've done. They've certainly got the momentum coming into this game, and that's been so important as well, what we've seen. So, look, they're all up and about in the field there, just about ready to go on the field, and the Thunder, we see Rachel Treneman just shrugging her shoulders, so obviously some nerves there, only a relatively new young player to the WBBL, so... yeah, we're in for a cracker of a match.
Still 25 degrees in Sydney. It is magnificent. It's been a very warm day. Tomorrow shouldn't be too bad, but the weekend should be extremely hot. As Jess Jonathan leads the Brisbane team out. And the Heat side is Georgia Redmayne, the keeper, Grace Harris, Jonathan, Georgia Vole, youngster, very good batter, Amelia Kerr, Laura Kimmins, Charlie Knott, Nadine de Klerk came back into the team for the last game of the regular season, the South African. Delissa Kimmins, Nicola Hancock and Georgia Prestwidge. The Sydney Thunder in the at least listed batting lineup is Tammy Beaumont and Rachel Treneman to open. Heather Knight, Rachel Haynes the captain, Phoebe Litchfield who's found some form, Sammy Jo Johnson the floater, Talia Wilson, Hannah Darlington who hasn't scored many runs but boy she's bowled beautifully, Lauren Smith the little pocket battleship, Shabnam Ismail and Samantha Betts the left arm finger spinner as Treneman and Beaumont come out to open the batting for Thunder. Tammy Beaumont, another disappointing campaign really from the English international. 166 runs at an average of 12.76 and a higher score of just 30, although that did come against the Brisbane Heat. And Rachel Treneman, who's been up and down the order, 224 runs at 17.23, highest of 38, and that was against the Heat, and a strike rate of 91.8. So what's their tactics to get this game underway, Gozzy?
Well, you'd have to attack. I think it's very hard if you're trying to have a pretty sedate start and then kick on in the back end. Phoebe Litchfield's reached some good form in the last couple of matches as well. Very good at the reverse sweep, so that will come into play. We saw the outfit a little bit slow yesterday. There'd been a little bit of moisture and a bit of rain around, but I think it's been a perfect day for drying out the wicket as well, so it should come through a little bit quicker.
Do you agree, 150 kind of minimum?
Yeah, at minimum. Yeah, well, we've seen Laura commence. She can absolutely blast the ball out of the whole park, so they'll definitely need that at least.
The last time we called her was last Saturday at Drummoyne Oval when they beat the Melbourne Stars, and Laura Kimmins won player of the match for facing 5 deliveries, where she won it for them, scoring 19 not out.
Yeah, special innings, wasn't it?
So Delissa Kimmins will open the bowling from the city end, the southern end, scoreboard end, give it whatever title you like, to our right. As some players take the knee for social equality, and that's been a feature throughout the WBBL season. Delissa Kimmins, Australian bowler, all-rounder, and her tournament for Brisbane Heat, 28 overs, 9 wickets at 23.44, an economy rate of just over 7.5. But it's interesting that she's gone to the senior hand, if you like, of this bowling attack, Jess Jonathan, here in Delissa Kimmins.
Yeah, and she should get some early shape away from the right-hander as well. And she's still only got the 2 out. I think she's only got 1 out, hasn't she, outside the ring at the moment?
Yeah, there's a deep square leg. That's it. Short third, backward point. In comes Kimmins over the wicket. Bowls and Beaumont defends back down the pitch. No run. So there's Laura Kimmins at backward point. Her sister Grace Harris at a regulation point. There's an extra cover and a mid-off, all inside the circle. And on the onside, a mid-on, mid-wicket, deep square leg. So plenty of gaps behind square on the onside, and there's a bit of a sweep, bit of a ramp from Tammy Beaumont down to that fine leg area for 4. She played that beautifully. That is where there is a huge noticeable gap, and Tammy Beaumont managed to exploit it expertly. She's off the mark with a boundary. Likewise, Sydney Thunder after 2 deliveries.
Yeah, great shot there. Complete contrast to last night, wasn't it? Just got across to the offside and exposed her leg stump, but played that perfectly behind square.
Down on one knee. Great shot by Beaumont. That might give her some confidence. They stick with the field, though. Kimmins bowls, and down the track comes Beaumont. Attempted sweep, and she made an awful mess of that one. In fact, because she'd wandered down the crease, Georgia Redmayne, the keeper, underarmed it at the stumps and hit Tammy Beaumont. Dot ball for all of that. None for 4 in the first over.
Well, there's a change already. You could see Beaumont advancing down the wicket just to try and negate that swing that Kimmins does get. I'm just seeing a change in the field now. We're getting someone just at short fine now.
Yeah, so short fine. Now, Grace Harris comes to short third. Vollett is at short fine leg. Laura Kimmins remains at backward point with a cover and a mid-off. Kimmins bowls a short ball cut, and it's under-edged by Beaumont. Perfectly placed between the keeper and the short third, and it races away for another boundary behind the stumps. So Beaumont moves to 8. Sydney Thunder, none for 8 in the first over, and it's a case of fortune favouring the bowl.
Yeah, you're exactly right there. Bit of a under edge off the bat, but at least the intent's there. It's really good to see here for the Thunder, for Tammy Beaumont, just trying to take the attack back to the Brisbane Heat. Kimmins just getting a line wrong there.
Well, I suppose she realises there's no point her scoring 20 off 30. Here's Kimmins bowling to Beaumont, who rocks back and cuts this, but doesn't place this at all. Sends it straight to the covers, where it's picked up by Amelia Kerr. Looking forward to seeing her bowl later. She's been outstanding for the Heat with the leggies, the young New Zealander.
Yeah, she has been. And a majority of her deliveries will be wrong-uns, so you sort of play for that and at least expect the leg spinner.
Deep square, deep cover point as Kimmins cuts, misses, and goes through to the keeper. So she's missed out on a couple there, Tammy Beaumont, and had 2 boundaries. A bit of licorice all sorts. 1 overdone. None for 8, Sydney Thunder. And Beaumont is 8 with those 2 boundaries behind the wicket. But she missed out on a couple of short, wide ones from Delissa Kimmins. And now it'll be Rachel Treneman on strike for the second over against Nicola Hancock.
Well, Tammy Beaumont has a very, very high backswing, so the bat's almost pointing up to the sky almost. So it makes it a little bit difficult if the ball doesn't bounce for her to actually access the ball. So if the ball's bouncing up, she's got more of a chance of hitting it. So no pressure on Treneman here.
Hancock back in the side. Quick bowler. 10 wickets at 23.3, an economy rate of 6.8. And Jess Jonathan hoping she can rip through the top order. So she'll start with Rachel Treneman. Now there is a third man. Backward point, cover, mid-off, mid-on, mid-wicket, square leg, and a deep backward square. Hancock on away from the fig tree end. Bowl short. Here's another edge for Treneman as she went for a late cut, and it flies away for 4 runs in front of the scoreboard. Sydney Thunder, none for 12. Treneman off the mark with the boundary first ball, and all 12 runs have come from behind the wicket.
You know, Andrew, I was just about to say their third man is very square. And they're just moving a fielder in now into slip where that ball just flew through, but the third man's very, very square, and Treneman's just hit that really nice and fine there.
Grace Harris has moved into slip. We've got Vol at square leg right next to the umpire, Eloise Sheridan there. Tony Wilds is umpiring at the bowler's end as Hancock bowls a Yorker, and just clamping down on it was Treneman. Bowler picks up in a follow-through. That was good Yorker and at good speed from Nicola Hancock. Score remains no wicket for 12.
Yeah, some really good speeds there. Perfect delivery, and Treneman did well just to actually keep it out. And I don't reckon we've seen enough of that. The Yorker being bowled. Such a good delivery if you can do it.
Jonathan stands at mid-off, the skipper. Charlie not at mid-on. Hancock bowls another well-pitched delivery. Just short of a Yorker. And Treneman defends it down to not at mid-on for another dot ball. This is the problem we're seeing with this pair. Not that it's a problem yet. They're done for 12 in the second over. But they have a real issue in rotating the strike. That's been their Achilles heel.
Yeah, you're spot on. It just haven't been able to take the pace off the ball and just soft hands and let the ball just fall in front and take that single.
So Hancock to Treneman, who's on 4, and she's just defending straight back to the bowler. Picks it up in a follow-through. So 4, ... to start this second over. Sydney Thunder having been sent into bat by Jess Jonathan. No wicket for 12. Thunder had gone through a real slump, but they come into the finals showing some semblance of form at least. They won 3 of their last 4 games. They beat the Hurricanes, the Strikers and the Renegades, the 2 bottom teams of the comp. But it gave them some confidence because they were in a real hole. And they managed to hold on to their spot in the top 3. As Hancock's at the top of a mark again, bowling to young Treneman. And Treneman on the hook shot, gets a top edge. Will it find the gap? Yes, it does. Falls just short of Nadine de Klerk coming in from deep backward square, and they'll get 2 runs. Wayward return from the South African, so a couple to Treneman. A little fortuitous. She moves to 6. Thunder none for 14 in the second over.
That's a good bouncer. And Treneman was only able to get that top edge. It flew up into the air, an absolute mile, and Nadine de Klerk actually did try and take that, but just fell short of her. She actually did well to actually let that fall in front of her. So it
was a very straight bouncer, wasn't it,
yeah,
from Nicola Hancock? Now, Alyssa Kimmins moves out to the mid-wicket boundary right in front of us. Hi, Alyssa. And de Klerk is at deep square leg. In fact, now Kimmins just being sent a bit to her right. A little squarer, a little straighter.
And standing right in front of the Thunder there.
Yes, right in front of the Thunder bench. Hancock bowling to Treneman, and she struck on the pad. Shout for LBW. Treneman sets off. She'll be run out by about 87 metres. The underarm at the stumps got her easily. Rachel Treneman went into Gaga land, and she couldn't wake up in time. Laura Kimmins with a run out, and Rachel Treneman on her way for 6. She completely fell asleep and is run out by 3 metres. Sydney Thunder 1 for 14 after 2 overs.
And that was a really big shout for LBW, which she was lucky to get away with, but I think she just lost track of the ball there and then just took off. There was no run there, and Laura Kimmins, direct hit, only 1 stump to hit, little underarm, and she's on her way, Treneman.
Well, she'll be kicking herself, Rachel Treneman. She just absolutely gave her wicket away. So she's out for 6. She faced 6 deliveries, hit 1 boundary, and she's out in the second over. Sydney Thunder 1 for 14. And now Heather Knight comes to the crease. And really, I know Rachel Haynes is still to come, but she's the key, isn't she, for the Thunder?
Yeah, exactly right. She's been their chief run scorer for this WBBL season. A lot falls on her shoulders out here. Tammy Beaumont's shown some pretty good intent. As you mentioned, Andrew, there's not a lot of singles. There's been not 1 single yet, so just need to make sure they're rotating the strike here.
Heather Knight, 403 runs at 40.3, highest of 83. She's hit 4 half-centuries and a strike rate of over 127.5. Now, this is interesting. Jess Jonathan brings herself on to bowl the 3rd over from the scoreboard end of the ground. Heat's leading wicket taker, well flighted. Beaumont will get a single here, wide of mid-on. And they go through for a run, an unnecessary throw at the non-striker's end to no avail. So Tammy Beaumont 9, and Heather Knight will come on strike for the first time. Jess Jonathan, 41 overs in the WBBL, 16 wickets at 16.62, an economy rate of under 6.5. Sounds like Jess Jonathan to me.
It does, doesn't it?
Heather Knight scratches her guard. She looks up to see a short, fine leg, deep square, deep mid-wicket, a very straight regulation mid-wicket, mid-on, mid-off, cover, point, backward point. as Jonathan bowls to the English skipper, and she works it off her pads down to deep square leg. Will get just the 1 run down to Georgia Prestwich. So she's off the mark straight away. 1 for 16, the Thunder in the 3rd over. Beaumont back on strike.
Yeah, just worked it off her hips there. Heather Knight just picked up that easy single. She'll get into her work here.
Here comes Jonathan. Big back lift from Beaumont, is down the track. Works it wide of a diving mid-on, and that'll race away for 4. Diving away there at mid-on was Nicola Hancock, but it beat her. It was hit with some timing from Tammy Beaumont, and she gets her 3rd boundary to move to 13. Thunder 1 for 20 in the 3rd. That was a lovely shot.
It certainly was, and we just talked about how high that backlift is. What it does, if your timing's on, it absolutely flies away to the boundary. Just got it to the right-hand side of mid-on.
It was on there. Here's Jonathan again. Around the wicket, cutting is Beaumont, but that's not a shot that's been her friend so far. Hits it to de Klerk at point. And dot ball. Score remains 1 for 20.
Well, she looks a different player, doesn't she, Beaumont? A lot of intent out there.
A lot of space on the leg side for her too, between short fine leg and mid-wicket. Jonathan bowls on the sweep, goes Beaumont. It's a wide, and they'll scamper through for an extra run. It was too far down the leg side. Not picked up at short fine leg, but they'll get 2. 1 for the run and 1 for the wide, and they'll get an extra delivery. Thunder 1 for 22 now in the 3rd over. But again, the intent was there.
Yeah, that's right, and that's a win for Beaumont. She's created that wide. Jonathan just losing a line there.
Knight awaits. Very high backlift herself, but she's very technically correct. Forward in defence. Jonathan picks up in a follow-through on the offside of the pitch. 1 for 22. 1 ball to come in the 3rd over that so far yielded 8 runs for the Thunder. Jonathan in to finish the over. Bowls tonight, comes down the track, but only defends it to mid-wicket. No run. It's well fielded there, and the score remains 1 for 22. 3 overs done. 8 runs from that over. Tammy Beaumont 13. Heather Knight is not out 1.
Yeah, so not a bad over there from Jonathan. I can see she's just varying her pace a little bit, just trying to entice the players to come out and reach the ball, but Beaumont's on her game here tonight.
4th over, and it looks like the 4th bowler, Georgia Prestwich, coming into the attack from the Fig Tree end of North Sydney Oval. So ringing the changes is Jess Jonathan, and so far Georgia Prestwich 7 wickets at 23.85 and an economy rate of 6.86. Got 4 for 12 in the last game against the Renegades.
Yeah, she's picked up her pace over the last couple of years as well.
Yeah.
Remodelled action. Her dad's one of the assistant coaches as well.
So Tammy Beaumont on 13. Well, her dad was a very good first class player, Scott.
Yep.
Beaumont purveying the field. There's deep 3rd, backward point. Extra cover mid-off, mid-on. Mid-wicket, deep square leg, short fine leg, so only 1 back. Prestwich into Beaumont, outside the off stump, and it's way too wide. Left by Beaumont. It is a wide. Thunder, 1 for 23 as we get this 4th over underway.
So a couple of extras here already for the Heat. Just been put off their game a little bit, haven't they, by the Thunder?
If you weren't with us last night, the Melbourne Stars comfortably won through to the final with a 7-wicket win over the Perth Scorchers with 22 balls to spare. Here is Beaumont clamping down on almost a Yorker from Prestwich and can only defend it back down the pitch. 1 for 23, the score remains. They were so convincing, the Stars, weren't they, last night, Gozzy?
Oh, they were. They're certainly the benchmark. The juggernaut keeps continuing on. They were so excited too. Lots of hugging and high-fiving.
Prestwich into Beaumont. Short. Cut away by Beaumont. This time she finds the gap between cover and point, and that will race away for a boundary. Beaumont's had a few cracks at the cut shot, and that time it came off more of the middle of the bat, and the placement was very good. She moves to 17, and the Thunder 1 for 27 in the 4th over.
Well, she tried to hit that little bit straighter, which with that big backlift that she has, it actually just rocketed off the middle of the bat. So it was more sort of a back foot square cut rather than sort of a traditional cut behind point. So plenty of open space out there on the offside.
Came a bit of a forearm jab from Beaumont. So Prestwich bowling over the wicket. 20-metre approach. In she comes past umpire Wilds. And she runs this to backward point. No run there. It went straight to the fielder Laura Kimmins. And the score remains 1 for 27. So 17 runs for Beaumont, 4 boundaries.
You don't have to run singles if you're hitting 4s, do you, Andrew? That was my motto.
4s or bust.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't believe you. Handy way to go, though. 17 or 12 for Beaumont. Her 13th delivery is pulled away majestically for 4 runs. Right in front of the Thunder dugout. De Klerk gave it a heck of a chase from deep square leg, but that was 4 the moment it left the bat. Too short from Prestwich, and Beaumont spanked it with a pull shot. 1 for 31. She's 21 off 13, Beaumont, and that's a 5th boundary.
Wow, that is a really special shot. A front foot sort of pull shot, and just that raced away off the outfield.
9 off the over thus far. Prestwich into Beaumont again, goes back, cuts it. This time it is a back cut down to deep third, and she'll get a run down to Nicola Hancock. So Beaumont 22, 5 fours and 2 singles. Sydney Thunder 1 for 32, 1 ball left in the 4th.
Yeah, really good start here for the Thunder. Only the loss of Trenement, but being really good intent out there by the Thunder batters. How do the Brisbane Heat respond here? They need to string some dots together here.
Prestwich to end the over. Good one so far for Thunder. Now bowling to Heather Knight, who's on 1, and she'll stay on that. As she just defends it to Kimmins, who fields at backward point. Dot ball. End of the over. 1 for 32, Sydney Thunder. 10 runs off. And Tammy Beaumont is being most unlike Tammy Beaumont. 22. Heather Knight just feeling away on 1. Rachel Treneman was run out for 6. What a beautiful picture postcard perfect night it is here in Sydney. We can see the sun setting. We look to our right and behind us. Just a wonderful glow in the sky. It's been a beautiful warm day. And we're in the middle of a great week for cricket in this part of the world. We've got the first one-dayer of the men's international summer between Australia and India. We're on air from 2:30 Australian Eastern Daylight Time tomorrow. The voice of summer, Jimmy Maxwell, will be in the chair with Spriggy and myself. And first ball at 2:40 local time. Then Saturday night we're back here from 7 p.m. local time for the WBBL final. And then on Sunday back to the SCG for the second one-dayer Australia-India. Delissa Kimmins back into the attack, and she's bowling to Beaumont short, and it's cut away forward of point. But that's where Nadine de Klerk is waiting near the boundary, and they'll get a run. So Tammy Beaumont now 23 off 15, and the Thunder 1 for 33 in the 5th.
Yeah, she's looked very good, hasn't she, Beaumont? I haven't seen this. We've watched a lot of games over this last 5 weeks, but this is the first time I've actually seen her take on the bowling attack and actually get the ball out of the middle. So it's great for the Thunder.
3 off 5, 9 off 12, 30 off 27, 4 off 8, 5 off 7, 18 off 26, 12 off 20 as Heather Knight again just defends. Straight to mid-wicket. Another dot ball to the champion English batter. Where was I with Tammy Beaumont? 12 off 20 against the Heat in the second game. 14 off 27, 1 off 2, then 23 off 17 against the Renegades, 2 off 5, 23 off 20, 22 off 20. So not many of her innings have finished with her runs on top of balls faced. Here's a lovely cover drive by Heather Knight. Work to do for de Klerk. Moving to her right. Coming back for the second is Beaumont. The throw on its way to the bowler, but Beaumont makes good ground. Good running. Heather Knight moves to 3, and Sydney Thunder 1 for 35 in the 5th.
And you'd think these two batters out there, obviously playing for England, they would have a good understanding of each other's games as well. This pitch looks like it's playing a little bit quicker, doesn't it, than last night?
Yeah, potentially. Here's Kimmins into Knight. She rocks back, cuts it for 1 to de Klerk coming in from the rope. Square on the offside, so Heather Knight moves to 4, 1 for 36 in the 5th over. But again, they can't slow down if they're looking for a 150 minimum total, and I think we all agree that's kind of where the par is on this deck in these conditions. They've got to keep moving. Here's Kimmins now, bowling to Beaumont, and she gets a full toss almost to Yorker, and she only defends it back to the bowler. No run. 1 for 36, 1 ball to come in the 5th. Beaumont 23 off 16.
Well, they've executed the Yorker perfectly here, the Brisbane Heat. If they just bowl more of that, they won't be getting 4s. Everyone's been on the money, those Yorkers.
Deep square, deep point. Kimmins to end the over, bowls a full toss, and it's scoop between mid-wicket and mid-on. The ball heading towards the boundary rope and beats Nicola Hancock over it. Another 4 for Tammy Beaumont, her 6th. And that will end the 5th over with Sydney Thunder 1 for 40, 8 runs from that over. Tammy Beaumont 27, Heather Knight 4, 1 for 40 after 5. Coming up to join Michelle Goscoe in Grandstand Cricket, Brett Sprigg.
The WBBL.
Hi, I'm Rachel Haynes.
I'm Elisa Healy.
I'm Nick Carey. On the stumps, big shout. Before and she's given. Down the pitch, gets a full toss and hits it for four.
On ABC Radio, digital and the ABC Listen app.
One of the more picturesque sights in cricket in this part of the world here, North Sydney Oval. Beautiful old grandstands, the setting sun. As Andrew said, a beautiful Thursday evening here at North Sydney Oval. Delissa Kimmins having just bowled that most recent over. So Nicola Hancock from the Fig Tree end. 1 for 40 off 5. So the Sydney Thunder at decent run rate here, and Tammy Beaumont leads the charge here. 27 off 17. Heather Knight will be on strike to face the first ball here from Nicola Hancock. Her second over of this match so far. The England captain waits. Full ball, full toss. Driven out through mid-on. And a throw comes to the non-striker's end. They'll make an easy single here. Knight to 5. 1 for 41 as it's my turn to say hello to Michelle Goscoe. G'day, Gozzy.
G'day, Spriggy. It's a great start here for the Thunder, isn't it? And you think, though, the Brisbane Heat, they've got plenty of ammunition, though, to come into this attack. Still haven't seen Amelia Kerr, Nadine de Klerk either. So we've got plenty of options here, the Brisbane Heat.
Beaumont back on strike. 27 off 17. Hancock rips it in. Back of a length. She's shaping to drive and missing. It beats the outside edge on this occasion. Great line and length on that occasion from Nicola Hancock. So it remains 1 for 41. We talk about, I guess, the evolution of fielding standards in this competition and in T20 cricket, Gozzy. But I'd love to look at the stats as far as this average run-outs per competition. This year, it seems like there's been an inordinate number of run-outs right across the comp.
Yeah, I mean, teams try and aim for at least 2 per innings. It's been really good.
That's how they lost Treneman for 6. Here is Beaumont clamping down on this straight to point. Dot ball again. 1 for 41 it remains early in the 6th over. 3 balls to come, in fact, in the 6th.
And sometimes, I mean, the stats are a bit inflated because in the last couple of overs, sometimes you sacrifice to try and get that second run. So there has been a few, but I've got to say the standard of fielding has been superb over this whole competition. It sort of started off with a bang, just lulled a little bit in the middle, but towards the back end of this competition, it's been outstanding.
We saw a few last night for the Melbourne Stars in the field first against the Perth Scorchers. Aaron Osborne got a couple of important run-outs. Slower ball, half-tracker, paddle up over the top, and this will be caught. That's short fine. Tammy Beaumont is out for 27. She was nearing her highest score of the campaign. On that occasion, she was deceived, I guess, by the lack of pace. She was in position nice and early to play that ramp shot, but it went straight up in the air, and the catch has been taken to bring about the second wicket. It was far too easy for Georgia Vole, and Tammy Beaumont departs for 27. 2 for 41, the Sydney Thunder batting first here against the Brisbane Heat.
Well, that was a game of cat and mouse, and well bowled there. Perfect plan. Slower ball, as you mentioned, Spriggy, and all she was able to do was parry that up as an easy catch behind square. Certainly could have had, well, she almost premeditated that, didn't she, and sort of already stuck in the shot. She would have been better off to just stay in a crease and swing across the line.
So Nicola Hancock, who is the sole inclusion for the Brisbane Heat. Courtney Sipple out. Nicola Hancock in for this game. She does strike, and 1 for 7 are her figures. 2 balls to come in her second over, the 6th of the match. So 2 balls left in the power play. Heather Knight has been joined by Rachel Haynes. So, as you said, Gozzy, strong leadership at the crease here for the Sydney Thunder now. The Australian vice-captain joins the England skipper.
And a left and a right-hand combination as well. So the Brisbane Heat bowlers will have to adjust here. They haven't looked panicked, though, have they? They haven't sort of panicked too much out there.
Well, I've watched the body language here of the Heat in the field. They've certainly still been pretty positive. Back of a length, whips it in really quick this time, Hancock, and just on the toes, Knight plays it to backward of point. And a dot ball. So 1 to come in the power play. 2 for 41, the Sydney Thunder. They were sent in by the Brisbane Heat captain, Jess Jonathan, having lost Treneman for 6 and Beaumont for 27 just a short time ago.
Well, they know that they've got an amazing batting lineup as well, very flexible, and they know that whatever target the Sydney Thunder can put on the board, that they know they could chase that.
They've certainly got the form, the Brisbane Heat. 7 straight wins. Last ball of the 6th. Hancock, and now coming forward, Knight. Straight to cover. And a dot ball to finish. So Nicola Hancock's got her tail up. Very effective over that one. with the wicket of Tammy Beaumont for 27. 2 for 41 at the end of the power play, that being the tightest of the overs so far. Just the 1 run off it and the wicket as well.
Perfect over there, Nicola Hancock. Really good pace and great control, and smarts as well. Just kept her nerve there and just created that wicket. Perfect bowling.
Will be a change of bowler from the City end. It looks like it'll be Grace Harris, Gozzy, coming into the attack. So this is our first look at her tonight, bowling her off spin. 11 wickets in 6 games, though. So, I mean, it's been a dip in form in her batting in the past 5 games, but it's certainly been effective with the ball. And she's bowling with the cap on from the City or Southern end here at North Sydney. Rachel Haynes, her first ball faced Harris around the wicket and played straight to cover. Dot ball.
Yeah, she just has a knack, doesn't she, of picking up a wicket or two. She kind of slows the ball down, gets plenty of loop on the ball as well.
Thinks about the next one. Haynes taps her bat and waits, goes down to sweep early, gets it away fine. They'll come back and think about the second. Haynes is charging to get there and does so successfully. Throw from the deep, Nadine de Klerk. And they do complete the easy couple here. So Rachel Haynes is off the mark, 2 off 2. Had a night on 5 at the other end. A little slow to get going for her. 5 off the 10 balls faced, 2 for 43. Here the Sydney Thunder, sent in by the Brisbane Heat. Grace Harris continues, bowling her off spin, coming down, foot to the pitch and driving it straight down to long off. Easy single this time for Rachel Haynes. She ticks along to 3, 2 for 44.
Yeah, and you think this is the key partnership. They've still got, as you mentioned, one of the pinch hitters, Sammy Jo Johnson. Throughout the tournament, she has come out a lot earlier, but I think it's probably a wise move to save her for the back end here.
A reminder, of course, you can send us a text, 0467920222, particularly if you're listening in Australia. We'll get those. Big hello to those joining us, BBC 5 Live Sports Extra and via the BBC streaming services as well in the UK. As Heather Knight, the England captain, waits here for Grace Harris. Right arm over the wicket, back of her length. She moves inside this, plays it back to the bowler who's impeded by Rachel Haynes at the non-striker's end. And it'll go down to long on for a single. Knight now to 6, 2 for 45 the Sydney Thunder.
Well, that was the most polite move away from Grace Harris. I would have kept running. Make sure Rachel Haynes couldn't get through for that single.
The left-hander back on strike. Haynes, deep backward square in place. She's again looking to sweep. She misses this, trying to work it off the legs. It will be signalled wide down the leg side. So a sundry here, 2 for 46 and still 2 balls to come in the 7th. Harris, waste no time. Haynes, a high bat lift, down to sweep, again missing this, and again it's signalled wide by umpire Eloise Sheridan.
Yeah, and there's the left-hand, right-hand combination working for the Thunder. Grace Harris just needs to adjust the line here, coming around the wicket.
Comes around the wicket again. Haynes rocks back to cut through a gap. Oh, it was slowed down. In fact, it was stopped by Laura Kimmett's throw comes in. I reckon Redmayne fumbled the ball as she went to just add the finishing touches. Knight sliding her bat at the keeper's end. They do make the single, so brave to run on the arm of Laura Kimmins coming off the earlier run out and